Week 2 of pet grief. I'm on day 16 since Tilly passed away, and in this video I'm going to be looking back on what the last week has been like, how it's been different to the first week, which it has been in many ways. Compassion fatigue, exhaustion, getting Tilly's ashes back. There's been a lot going on. Before we jump in, I just wanted to say that if you're watching this video, you can only have come here for one reason, and I'm truly sorry. I really hope that this video can be of some use to you. Okay, let's go. One of the things that I did in the second week was order a bunch of prints of Tilly. I wanted to have especially funny ones that I could just flick through, and I especially wanted to have my favourite picture of Tilly blown up big into full sort of Tilly size so that I could have it framed, and that could be a picture that I could, give a little peck to as I went past, and one that I could talk to. In my craziness, I must have not looked at the dimensions properly because this cardboard tube arrived and I was all emotional and I was crying like, oh, it's going to be my big picture of Tilly. And then as I unrolled, it was enormous. It's huge. As I unrolled this thing, I was just like, because it's quite a stern picture as well of Tilly. I might put it up here. She had quite a demanding expression sometimes, and I loved it. And it's very, very cute. But when it's enormous, it's just kind of terrifying. It made me laugh anyway. That was a highlight of the week. The second week since losing Tilly, what has it been like? It hasn't been as bad as the first week because I don't think that it just possibly could. It's been very different emotionally. I'm going to break this down into 5 points like I did in my first video, just because I think that that gives it the best structure, really. So jumping in, let's go. Point number 1. Getting Tilly's ashes back. I got those back on Wednesday and I wasn't really sure what to expect. If you've not been through this yet or you've never been through it before, then like me, you might have been wondering what actually happens when you get to the vets. Like, I literally didn't know if they were just going to hand me like a Tesco's carrier bag. I had no idea what she was going to come back to me in. And it was actually lovely. The vets, thankfully, it was very quiet. I kind of had assumed or hoped that they took you into a side room so you had some privacy in case you were really upset, but no, you just go up to the desk, and I wasn't even really sure what to say. I just wanted to say I've come to collect Tilly, but I obviously, they have other animals that are staying there that are living, so I assumed that I had to say I've come here to collect Tilly's ashes. But I don't know. I was kind of hoping that they were just there with a label Tilly on them, so I could say I've come to collect Tilly, and that would be it. But when I said I've come here to collect Tilly, the woman at the counter did look at me a bit blank, so I had to say ashes. Oh yes, okay, and off she went. And it was lovely. A beautiful bag, like a kind of fancy gift bag with like a rope handle. And then a load of stuff inside. I really don't know what I was expecting, but I knew they wouldn't just be loose in there. But I really didn't know what I was going to get. And there was like a candle with some nice words written on it. I'd asked for some of her paw prints. They had those in there on a laminated piece of card with Tilly and then her paw prints underneath. And it's really good. That really got me. A couple of glass bottles, like little cute bottles with her fur in, which I'd asked for as well. And they took fur from, she was a tabby, so she had all different colours, and they took all of the different colours. There was a kind of certificate, which sounds weird, but it's really nice because it's to commemorate the day that she was cremated, which was on the 16th. And then obviously there was her ashes. Her ashes were in a sort of like thick cardboard tube. It's called a scatter tube, and I was really worried this thing was going to easily just come open, but it's really tightly secured. And a nice card from them as well. So that was a really nice experience, and something which weirdly I had been quite excited about during the day. Like, in the midst of all of this horribleness, Wednesday, because I was picking them up late afternoon, Wednesday throughout the day, I genuinely felt excited. Like, today I'm bringing Tilly home. As much as I can have her, today I will have her back. And I knew obviously it wasn't going to be the same, and I knew it was going to be upsetting. But one of the things I hated most of all was the feeling that she just was away from where she needed to be, which was home. I was really upset. Charles, he was amazing as he has been throughout this whole thing, just really lovely and kind and supportive. And he's sad as well, but able to be that kind of strong force in life that you need sometimes. I think I cried in the car all the way home. I had taken her blanket with me, so I wrapped up the ashes, the tube, in the blanket, and then I had that to cuddle all the way home. And it actually really did feel like bringing Tilly home. It felt like the right thing to do. If you're watching this and you haven't decided yet what you want to do with your pet, if you want to have their ashes back or not, or if you want to bury them, obviously completely personal. But I would say that if any part of you is a little bit unsure about having their ashes back, I would still say it's been a really positive experience, and I would really recommend it to anyone who was thinking it might be a bit uncomfortable or a bit just feel a bit weird. It really didn't, and I think in the midst of all of the grief, it's actually been very healing to bring her home. That was It was briefly a highlight in the week that was surrounded by grief. It was the nice feeling that Tilly is back where she belongs. Compassion fatigue, yeah. I knew obviously that people were not going to be endlessly, forever patient, sympathetic, and understanding about this. People don't see it the same as if you have lost a human family member. And it was like a switch. You get 1 week, is how it seems to be. I had 1 week. And in that 1 week, don't get me wrong, it was amazing. Cards, flowers, people sending me lovely messages, friends and family checking in. Everyone was super supportive. But it's like you get that 1 week and then a switch goes. And people, if they ask how you are and you say, I'm feeling pretty, I'm still feeling pretty just dreadful, a couple of people were like, oh, why? Still the dead cat. Still on that at the moment. This is the thing. I don't think people are being intentionally cruel. Obviously, no one is. People just seem to assume that 1 week is all that's really needed. They move on, life moves on. They assume that you must have moved on by now as well, or at least you're over that nasty week of, oh, you lost your pet. And it did leave me feeling like I need to hide how crap I feel. I need to bury that down. There's an element of I will just fake it till I make it, I guess. And not only that, but I was so outside of my normal feelings by this point anyway. I mean, in terms of what I was eating and just how I was feeling day to day, that I kind of felt like if I just pretend that I'm okay, then maybe I will be okay. So when people ask me how I am, I'll just go, oh, I'm fine, and just sort of brush past it, and I'll just do all my sobbing in private. And that was pretty much what was in my second week. I kind of felt embarrassed to say to people, like, this is really hard. I'm really struggling. I didn't want people to see me crying. And it kind of meant that I was doing things like I wasn't going to the shops in case I live in a small village. I wasn't going to the shops in case I bumped into someone I knew because I probably would have just burst into tears. And I just was aware that the checking in, at least the checking in a sort of Tilly specific way, wasn't happening anymore in week 2, and it's not coming back. That phase has been and gone, and it kind of feels like after that you're on your own. uh the exhaustion, and I can only think that it's from just the sheer energy that is used to cry that much. And if you're in it, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is draining, and I don't remember ever crying like this before. I don't think that I ever have. And that when I cry like that afterwards, I kind of feel like I've been punched in both eyes. Dry skin. I feel like I could sleep for a week. And the waves of those crying fits are so regular and so sort of unrelenting and intense when they happen that it completely left me wiped out. I think in week 1, which was mainly shock, don't get me wrong, loads of crying in week 1 as well, endless crying in week 1, but there was just an awful lot of shock there. Week 2, more like depression. I feel like I could have stayed in bed all day, and that's not me. This is the other thing. my normal, just for sort of like a frame of reference, I am a runner. I run several times a week. I lift weights several times a week. I do yoga every day. I meditate. I'm one of those people who can tell you how many grams of protein they eat every day, normally. But for the past 2 weeks, I have just lived off of crumpets and Cadbury's, to be honest. And I tried to run in the second week. It was part of that faking it till you make it. I'll just make myself go for a run. And yeah, it's really hard to run when you're crying. This is what I learned. So I came home after 1 mile. I also feel like there's probably just nothing sadder than seeing a runner crying. So I just sort of trudged home after a mile. And I've tried to run since, and it still just isn't really working. I think it's a combination of things. I mean, running tends to make me feel more feelings anyway. You know, if I'm happy and I go for a run, then it's like, yay. But if I'm feeling sad and I go for a run, then that's not good. I am going to keep trying with the running, obviously, because I'm trying to get back to some kind of normal. But I'm very aware that with the not eating right and the amount of herbal sedative stuff that I'm on as well, because I don't drink and I don't smoke, and I have just heavily lent into anything that has valerian root in it or anything like that. So, you know, I'm pretty much a zombie by the time I'm going to bed. So I'm actually sleeping like a baby. Although I'm trying to kind of come out the other side of that, because there was a day when Charles said to me, you know, you've really got to try to keep normal going. And I remember saying to him, like, I completely agree. The problem is that all I want to do is sink into a bottle of wine, smoke 20 Marlboros, and live off chocolate. And that's because that's what an old me would have done. You know, I've only been this version of me for about 2 years. Old me would have sunk into a bottle of wine and smoked and eaten nothing but chocolate. So there's sort of this temptation to go back to that old way of being, just because it's just anything that makes you feel better, right? And it's like, yeah, working out makes you feel better. Everybody knows that. Exercise is good for you. Get out in the fresh air, go for a run, rah, rah, rah. So it all takes a monumental amount of effort and energy. And when you're feeling really depleted, just putting on your shoes and getting out the front door is hard work. Whereas, you know, that's not. That's always tempting, which is one of the reasons that I don't do that anymore. In this same space of trying to figure out how to make myself feel better, I have found myself going more down the spiritual route, which over the last 2 years is sort of what I have lent into anyway. I think because the smoking and drinking and everything else is gone. And from what I've read, this happens to a lot of people. You know, you give up alcohol and then you become some kind of spiritual hippie person. So I was already doing a lot of meditation and that kind of thing. And I have found myself watching a lot of YouTube stuff with titles like 10 signs your past cat is trying to communicate with you, and what your cat really experiences when they pass over, those kinds of things. And I don't know how much I believe in any of that, but times like this, I'm prepared to believe anything. So I've actually found it very comforting. I think just people talking about this topic anyway has been very comforting. So I've watched and listened to a lot of that kind of spiritual content. And I would say that if you have any leanings in that direction whatsoever, if you love a bit of meditation, crystals, wherever you are in that, there is definitely is an area to lean into if nothing else is helping. And it means that the part of me that does believe as well can, you know, look out for signs. Tilly's scatter tube that her ashes are in have a picture of bluebells in a woodland on them. And like 2 days ago, I turned on my laptop, which has like an auto-generated screensaver, and it was the same image. And I, that's not me going, she's here. That's just like this. There is some connection here. There is something here that I find reassuring, because really, what are the odds? What are the odds that this is on her ashes and now that is on my laptop? Very odd, right? I think we can all agree. So I'm prepared in these moments of difficulty to take comfort from that, and it has worked. It has definitely helped. Ah, the guilt. the guilt in week 2 is different, or has been for me, very different to the guilt in week 1. The guilt in week 1 was that replay of what happened. It was, did I do the right thing? It was, I hate myself for putting her in a cat box and taking her to the vet. It was, maybe I just needed to get antibiotics for her. Did I do, it was all of that stuff. The week 2 guilt is things like, for a split second there, I didn't feel dreadful, and now I feel guilty that I didn't feel dreadful. And for a split second there, I wasn't thinking about Tilly, and now I feel guilty about that. It's, the neighbour's cats have come into the garden. I feel guilty that they're walking on her grass, and I feel even guiltier that I'm calling them in. I'm calling them over. I'm desperately, any cat that comes past me, I want to hug it. Um, I and I am nowhere near, I don't know when I would ever be ready to get another cat. But I found myself looking at pictures of cats just because our cute cat, just because of that is helping in some way. And then I feel guilty for doing that, just looking at pictures of cats that aren't mine. And I even found myself looking at this huge picture of Silly crying and saying to her, I can't I can't be like this forever. I can't grieve like this forever. I would love to think that Tilly was the sort of cat or the sort of being that would think, no, no, I don't want you to either. Go, love another. Tilly wouldn't. You know, if I was to so much as look at another cat, Tilly would be there going, what the hell is this? I know she would. So I do also feel a bit like I'm doomed to love and miss and grieve this beautiful mog of mine for the rest of my life. Maybe that's the way that it's supposed to be. Maybe that is just what true love is. I don't know. But all I know is that I feel guilty for if I spend a split second feeling any kind of peace at the moment. And luckily, it's not that much of a problem because I very seldom do. All in all, I would say that if I felt 0 out of 10 in my first week, if 10 is just me feeling my normal and 0 is just feeling like, who is this person who's walking around like a zombie? In week 2, I've come to more like a 4, something like that. I don't wake up and burst into tears. And I would say the amount of times that I have cried throughout the day has lessened, especially I would say the last 2 days. Like I said, it's day 16 today, so probably over the last 48 hours, there has been a bit less of that. I think in my first video, I mentioned that love feeling that I had been tapping into, and I definitely try to stay there as much as I can when I think of her. And I'm starting now to remember more the Tilly that I really knew. You know, the Tilly of the last year of her life was a very different cat to the cat that I had for the 16 years previous. She was, I used to joke that she was my cushion because she didn't really do anything. She was elderly and she was sleepy and she was adorable and lovely. But the cat that I'm remembering was the cat that would bounce up to me and skid, and the cat that would sit beside me and paw the air to get my attention. And then when I locked eyes with her, would make this adorable tiny meow. And I'm remembering the way that she was, which was easy to forget in a way during that last year where she was old lady cat. And now it's like it has been really lovely actually to start to remember her in her happy, I wouldn't say youthfulness. She always seemed like an old cat to me anyway. She just had that kind of energy. But yeah, just the her prime, I suppose, is what I've been remembering more. And I have got no idea what the rest of this week is going to bring and how I'm going to feel at the end of it. I would still say that everything feels very raw and I feel very, very fragile. I'm definitely feeling better around people now. That's coming from a massive introvert. I'm really not that bothered about being around humans very much. I just want my cat. But it feels like there is a bit of coming up for air that's been happening, I suppose is the best way that I can put it. So there. I hope that this has been helpful to you. like I said, if you are going through this, if it looks like you're about to go into this, then my heart goes out to you completely. Trust me that it does start to get better after that first week. There's something about that first week which is just intense and relentless and awful. And it can feel like it's going to feel like this forever, but it definitely doesn't. Even after just 2 weeks, I'm already here able to say that things have lightened slightly. And if you've already done week one and you're heading into your second week, especially if that's the week, it'd be most likely that if you're getting ashes back, that's when it would be, then that is something to look forward to. Before I brought Tilly home, I refreshed all of the flowers and everything that's on her little shrine, and changed her candles and stuff like that. And I said it's like I want it to be like a little homecoming party for her. So there are things like that that you can do to make it really unique and special for you and your pet. And I know that it's such a hard and awful time. And yeah, just stay strong and keep going. It will get easier. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back again in a week to reflect on what week 3 has been like and to talk more to you about pet loss and pet grief. And until then, take care.